Hey, this is Dealer of Ideas. So this video is going to be about two things. It's going to be my recap of, not recap because, well, anyway, my description of my experience at the Bay Area Maker Faire, and then also moving forward from here and next steps. So I'm actually going to start with that second topic first. And so right now, and I was just looking over my to-do list and like organizing my to-do list and stuff. Right now I'm at a very, very cool place where I only have 3 things on my entire to-do list that are not directly related or just related to my blog / my blogs. And those 3 things should not even take too long to do. Like, I could easily knock them all out tomorrow. And so that's really, really cool place to be. And also, I was then thinking about, okay, well, that's a to-do list. But so I sort of organize like to-do lists in, I think there's 3 categories differentiated temporally. Where one is sort of your one-time things. It's like you do them and they're done. And those, you could label that like urgent or one time or whatever. And then you have your things that are continual. So things that you gotta repeatedly do. Could be day in, day out, could be weekly, whatever. Those you can just call whatever you want, repeating, or I don't know. And then your final to-do list is your more high level, sort of your you could just call it like your project list or even your goals. So as far as my repeating to-do list, I was thinking about, okay, well, now that I've removed most of the things from my one times to-do list, what are the things that I have to think about other than my blog, for my other to-do list, my repeating to-do list. And the only thing I really have is driving for Uber and working out at the gym, and then social stuff. But the social stuff, I'm really starting to get much more focused and directed, whereas in I have a better idea of the type of people I want and the type of setting and the type of interaction. So I just have 2 different things down for what I'm going for the social thing. And so I'm really at a place where I can just start to focus and concentrate on my blog. As far as my last to-do list, my big goals / projects, basically it's to become a digital nomad, but the blog is the vehicle to do that. So, and then also it's really cool because my blog / my 2 blogs sort of already, I've set it up so that they literally are the things that I most want to do, so that they encompass the things that I want to do. So any other project, like making music or experimenting with using social media or using technology to help me better unleash my creativity, like any of those sorts of projects, actually the way I've set it up is that they're all part of my blog. And so really I found a way to sort of compartmentalize my life into make money, take care of my body, meet and spend time with the type of people and the type of way that I want. And then the final thing of all of those different sorts of things, like self-actualization and getting to know yourself and doing the things that you've always wanted to do, and sort of building your future, all of those different types of things, I have found a way to bundle into one. And cognitively, that's super powerful. It's really going to allow me to focus on it. And one aspect of focusing on it is really this some sort of compartmentalization and saying, okay, what are the things I have to focus on other than that? And so then I'll really look forward to working. And so I should be really productive in my work time, and the other things are sort of like providing me with the other things I need in my life that the work doesn't provide, and provide a way to break up the work, because like if you try to work consistently for too long of a period, you can't stay productive. Like you can't be productive, super productive for like, you know, 10-12 hour stretch, right? It's better to like break it up into like 2 6-hour stretches. Okay, cool. And so now I'll talk about the Maker Faire after I have some tea. So I found a way of filming what sort of my view, no hands, which was to strap my phone into, which was to put my phone into like a wrist carrying case and then use my backpack to have it stabilized against the center of my chest. And so I started filming like that when I entered the Maker Faire, and I got about an hour worth of time, and then I had to stop because my phone ran out of power, and I had already used all of the power of my portable charger. That's also on my to-do list, is to get a charger that has a lot of charge. And also the fact that it had to be strapped to my backpack made it annoying, because it meant that I had to keep my backpack on the whole time, which I never do normally. So that's not a good system. So today at the Maker Faire served as a lesson to me that, like, yeah, I need to get my act together and figure out my 24/7 recording option. And I have ideas about that. I'm thinking that I could really easily record audio all the time, and then I was thinking that like if I wanted to do all the time video, I could do as a default low quality video, and then I could just like switch it to higher quality like at those particular times where I definitely want to make sure it's recorded and I might want to use the recording later. So that's what I'm thinking of trying to get set up. Yeah, so I had to stop recording after about an hour, but I will post that video. And so then I went to a few more talks, and then I started, and then once I was done with the talks, then I just started walking around the fair to see what was up, what was going on. And I knew that probably mostly what I would be interested in would be the booths in the main expo tent. And so like I walked around most of the fair, and like a lot of stuff, like it wasn't really relevant or interesting to me. Like I already sort of know what kind of things I go for. And so I got to the expo tent, and I saw a booth which said like human like declaration like of rights like against aliens or something. And so I started reading it, and it was basically like a human declaration of our sovereignty and our right to like our home planet, and without interference from other alien races. So the guy at the booth saw me reading it, and so he started so he started talking to me, and he said, he showed me the books, and they were written by some guy, and he said that the books had really resonated with him, and I was like, but who is this guy? And he's like, oh, it's this guy who got this like message from like, like the spiritual world. I was like, so you'd rather listen to that guy than like, community of tens of thousands of some of the smartest people in the world, like scientists, like scientific consensus is not saying that there's aliens like that we know of. And so he was like, yeah, but like, it's not always right. And so at first I was just thinking like, oh, this guy, like, he's not scientific, he's not that like intellectual, he's just like more faith-based. But then like the more he started talking, the more I started to see that this theory of like this alien stuff that this guy had written about. Actually, let me pull out the paper so we can I can start to describe. Okay, so it's the Allies of Humanity, and the like sort of leader of this group, his name is Marshall Vian Summers. So I have a 10-point summary. It's a 10-point summary of the Allies of Humanity briefings, 2008, the Society for the Greater Community Way of Knowledge. So, the more he started talking about this worldview of this Allies of Humanity thing, the more I started to see that it really was sort of saying the same thing that technological based worldview would a technology based worldview would say, and that it was just framing it in a different way. And this is really cool because this touches on a point which I've come to see in many instances, which is that like different religions and like ideologies and thought systems, like to me it seems like they're all sort of saying the same thing, but just in a different way. Like the surface picture is different, and the wording is different, but like you could actually say, oh, it's talking about the same way that things work and what sort of things will happen, but in the same way. So one sec. So me and this guy kept talking, and so I eventually I brought up a point, which is something that I've thought for a while, which is that of all of the belief systems, only one based in technology is the one that has the potential to actually truly change things. And that's because, like, when we're talking about change, we're talking about like every intelligent being like becoming like spiritual. And when every intelligent being becomes spiritual, then you have this sort of like second coming of the Messiah, nirvana, enlightenment, singularity sort of situation. Like all of those terms, they all are just different verbal ways of saying the same thing. And so the point that I brought up to this guy was that technology is the only one that's really going to work, because you have so many people, different types of people, neurodiversity, like all sorts of different types of mindsets. But like certain people are just more, just their genetics are more prone to becoming spiritual. And like there's other people that it's just like such a small chance, or maybe impossible, I don't know, not impossible, but so difficult to take a certain genetic code that's been raised in a certain environment and make it spiritual, except for technology. Technology is the thing that can do that, and the reason why is because technology can actually change the physical basis of mindsets through like genetic engineering or brain-computer interfaces or stuff like that. And so guess what? This guy's response was, and yes, and that is the way that many other intelligent races achieved like the state that they're at right now. But the problem is that those tend to be very structured, controlled, autocratic societies. So I wouldn't say my mind was blown, but I was really shocked and surprised. And actually, this guy that I was talking to, by way of these books that he's read through this Allies of Humanity thing, has come to a potentially great, like, larger worldview than what I had. And so I need to start looking more into this Allies of Humanity thing. But if I do, it would be through my filter, which is technology. So I would be reading it and then trying to translate that, the insights from this Allies of Humanity thing, I would try to translate that into what would that mean in a technical sense, right? As far as like science and technology. And so I just really had this feeling of like, oh, that's why I came to the Maker Faire. Like, absolutely. Like, I'm very much now a person that sort of knows what he's looking for. And so actually, after I talked with that guy and I got his phone number, I just left. Like, there was plenty of stuff that I hadn't seen at the fair. But I knew that nothing would come close in comparison to the experience I had meeting that guy. And that I wanted to just have a free, my mindset not focused on other things other than just thinking about the conversation I had just had and like processing it. So I knew like I should just leave the fair. And it, when I started walking out of the fair towards the buses, it just felt right, you know, like, okay. And then so anyway, so that's what I want to say about my time at the Maker Faire. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks.